I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Deborah, and they'll have a little bit of introduction of themselves and then moving into their stories. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Colette. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, my name is Deborah Berman, and I'm a fruit explorer. And like most fruit explorers, I'm passionate about old fruit trees and about old fruit varieties. So if any of you have ever traveled around the Palouse, you've probably noticed that our landscape is dotted with fruit trees. And they're mostly apples. My sister once collected fruit from 50 plus different roadside apples in a 1-mile stretch north of town. So there are also plenty of plums, and there's some cherries and pears too. And these trees were planted in relation to old farms and old homesteads, where they were an important source of food for people and for livestock. And they're also remnants of old commercial orchards, because back in the day we were a commercial fruit growing region before the Columbia Basin Desert projects. So you'll see the trees growing on roadsides, and you'll see them growing in parts of wheat fields where it's too steep to plow. And you'll see them growing where our native hawthorns grow, because apples and pears are really closely related to hawthorns. And we think that one of the reasons that apples and pears do so well here is because they can fit into our natural ecology somehow. And also partly because our climate is an analog climate to where apples originated. And they do well here. So they've thrived in spite of our freezing cold winters, including the one where it got to 60 below zero, and our hot and dry summers where we'll often have almost 3 months without rain. And these trees are mostly healthy, and they're disease-free, and they're reliably productive. They produce good crops year after year after year with no human intervention at all, except maybe occasionally getting whacked at by the county road crews, but I don't think that counts. So they're an incredible legacy that have been given to us by the original colonial settlers of the Palouse. And they're a really important resource for any truly resilient local food system. And they're a really diverse lot too. Some of them are probably seedlings. Certainly the oldest trees, which are 100 and more years old, are mostly probably named heirloom varieties. We have a big diversity of them because people planted a lot of different varieties in order to get fruit for a variety of different uses, like cider, early and late season apples, things like that. Some of you may be familiar with the Lost Apple Project led by David Benscoter. And he has found a number of different apple varieties that were thought to be lost to cultivation, that were considered extinct. And of the possible 15,000 apple varieties that we've known about, probably about half of them have gone extinct. But the majority of the apples that he's found that were thought to be extinct were actually in Whitman County. And so there are probably a lot more to be found. There are probably a lot more to be found in Whitman County. There are probably more to be found in Latah County. Now, my particular interest is in old pear varieties. And I found some real treasures, including one that probably ranks in the top 3 for flavor of all the different pears that I've ever tasted. And I haven't been able to identify it so far. So identifying an old fruit variety is always a challenge. You have to look at the characteristics of the tree and the fruit, and you go into the old references and you look at the botanical prints. And if you're lucky, you'll find something that matches. But there is a tree coming up, we haven't quite gotten to it yet, which I was able to identify as being a Tyson, which is also known as a summer seckle. And that was an interesting identification challenge because while all the descriptions matched, I had two different sets of botanical prints that didn't match each other. So the question was, which one was right? But I was able to find, fortunately, a photograph of somebody who had taken a picture of a fruit that came from a named Tyson tree that was 150 years old that was from Maine, so I was able to pin that down. And that's the tree there. So we have propagated some of these for our own use, but I've been thinking that I'd like to propagate them more widely and make them more widely available, with the idea that people would become stewards of particular varieties, so that if we lose the parent tree, that we won't have lost its legacy. And there's the Tyson fruit right there. And that's just a wild, untended tree. And I'd like to make a map of all the different fruit trees in the Palouse, so that if you're driving by on the Palouse and you actually see a fruit tree, you can take its picture and then you can upload the picture along with its GPS waypoint to some sort of central database. So if any of you think that you might be interested in helping get that up and running, or if you think you might like to be a fruit steward, let me know. So I don't know, I had a handout, I don't know if it was circulated. Yeah, it's called Resources for Fruit Explorers. And my name and contact information is on the bottom of that. So get in touch with me if you're interested. That also has a list of an upcoming cyanwood exchange in Spokane Valley if you want to actually get cyanwood and propagate some of those previously lost apple varieties. David will have some of those there. So, and certainly if you know of any old pear trees, let me know. So let's keep our Palouse fruit legacy alive. Thank you.